Welcome to the Elite BSC podcast, where our entire focus is helping commercial janitorial contractors succeed. You want a growing company, a thriving team, and healthy profits, and we are here to help. My name is Jordan Tong. I'm the founder of Elite BSC, a company dedicated to helping janitorial companies grow and thrive. I also serve as CEO and one of the owners of France Building Services. France is a janitorial company employing nearly 600 people. Since 2007, we grew from 1.5 million to more than 20 million in annual revenue and built what I think is one of the best teams in the world. The goal of Elite BSC and this podcast is to give owners in the industry a vision of where their company can be and the information and tools to get there. I want to share what I have learned over the years to make this a reality for you. Hey BSCs, it's Jordan here. Look, I know it has been a couple of weeks since I put out a podcast. I honestly have no valid excuse for that. I just had a lot of stuff going on, and it just got pushed to the back burner. But I'm going to keep doing my best to pump these out every week if possible. So it's on my schedule to do a couple of those today. I actually just got back from the BSCI convention out in Las Vegas. Our group, the Elite BSC group, we hosted a party on Tuesday night out there at a restaurant, and probably had 75 people or so attend that event, and it was a good time, and it was great to get to hang out with a bunch of folks and meet some new folks. So it's really cool to hear the stories of what everyone is going through, how they're growing and building and navigating struggles and all of that stuff. So if I didn't see you there, we missed you. And hopefully we'll be able to connect at some point in person in the future. I think we are going to be hosting a workshop in 2025, probably just one workshop. And we're looking this year, instead of doing it in where we've normally done it in Owensboro, which is a little bit more difficult to get to, I think we're going to do it in Louisville. So it has a bigger airport, and a lot of folks makes it a lot easier for them to fly in and just grab an Uber to wherever we do the event. So I will keep you updated when that becomes available. So today I wanted to talk about the topic of branching out. So growing your business geographically. So when I talk about branching out, I don't mean like a new service line. So I don't mean you're going to start, a landscaping division or whatever. So I'm talking about expanding your current janitorial operation into a new geographic market. And what's the best way to do that? So some of you are in metropolitan areas that you're fortunate enough to not really need to expand outward geographically, at least not anytime in the near future. I was talking to one of our Elite BSC members the other night at the party we hosted, and their company, they're in a large metropolitan market, probably maybe a top 15 city in the U.S. population-wise, and they've grown their company to like plus 20 million plus just in this one particular metropolitan market. That could never happen in any of the markets that we typically service. And so it's really interesting to hear their story. But companies like ours, $2 to $3 million is the most we could have in a single market before we would have to geographically pick up and move somewhere else or expand somewhere else geographically. And in all reality, sort of our strategy has been to pick these, what we would call like B and C markets to go into. And so there's been a couple of three ways really that I think this can be done, this branching out, and we've actually done all three of them. And so I definitely have some thoughts on it. So when you think about going to a new geographic location, the three approaches are this. We'll just paint with a broad brush here, and then we'll dive into each one. So the first option is what I call like the bootstrapping method. So you're going to go into a market, and you're going to start selling there, and you're going to maybe hire a manager like as soon as you get your first account, and you're just going to build that thing from the ground up. So maybe you move there for a short period of time. Maybe you hire somebody right out of the gate, and you just start trying to get accounts and building a branch one account at a time. You're not necessarily worried about the size as much of the accounts you're getting. You're just growing one step at a time. So this is the, at least initially, cheapest option, I suppose. And just in terms of like upfront cost, I guess. Particularly if you don't hire anybody, right out of the gate, and you just wait till you get your first account, and then maybe you hire a manager and that, or a supervisor that oversees the operations, and then you slowly build from there. So this was kind of the first approach that we took. We did this in a market that was pretty close to us, like an hour away, and so it made it possible to do this. It made it not too difficult. We could sell and kind of manage because we're in pretty close geographic proximity. I mean, if a customer had an urgent issue, I could, tell them, hey, I'll be there in an hour. If we're 3 or 4 hours away, that becomes a lot more complicated. So that worked out well. And as we started to pick up some accounts, and, they were small. This is a long time ago, 20 years ago almost. We'd pick up $1,000 a month account, a $3,000 a month account, a $9,000 a month account. And I initially was managing, and then as we picked up like 2 or 3, I hired a field manager to begin overseeing those. And as that grew and grew and grew, we ended up hiring a branch manager and then another field manager. And so that's sort of the story of that one. We tried doing that same method of opening a new geography in a much larger city, but that was 2 hours away. And it was not nearly as successful. It was much harder to sell. It was much harder to manage from a distance. And we really struggled. And we lost money there for several years. Just we're always spending more than we were actually earning in revenue. And I think that has turned around some in the last few years. But that was sort of our story there. So maybe to give a summary on this one, I think you can branch out in the bootstrapping way if the branch operation is close enough to you. That makes it an easy drive back and forth on any given day, or being able to get out at night and manage something. But you start getting 2 hours and beyond, I think that becomes very difficult. So the next approach that somebody could take and to branch out is that they could look to find a really large customer. We would call them an anchor account in a particular geographic market. So this has become, this and acquisition, the third one, are the two that we lean on now. So if we've got a handful of markets that we would like to be in at some point, in the short term, we're not gonna sell to the smaller accounts in that market, but there may be a handful of really big accounts that if we got them, they would have their own management built into the account, and so immediately when you started working there, you would have management already on site in the area, taking care of that account. So it sort of checks like a couple of boxes. Like you get the revenue real quick, and usually these are big accounts. I mean, these are going to be $20K a month plus accounts. And you get the account, you get revenue and some profitability, and you get a manager sort of all in one package, and you've got, $250,000 operation off the ground right away. And then it's much easier to start building from there because you do have a manager there. And we've done this in a couple of markets, and it's gone really well for us. And so what we do is we target some new geographic areas that we want to be in, and we look at those kinds of accounts that would be anchor accounts, and we put those on the hit list, and we may be looking at multiple markets that we'd like to get into. And when we're able to sort of hone in on one that we get some opportunity at, and we land an account, then that becomes the market we're going to go into. So this has been good for us. We've done this in probably 2 markets, and we sort of have our eye on 2 or 3 more that we'd like to see this happen in. And this one is, there's a bit of a risk. You're going to try to tackle a big customer at a distance from where you're at, and so And there's usually some upfront cost in getting that customer started and sort of launching the whole thing. But it's less of a grind than the bootstrapping method. So this one is very favorable. I know a lot of the bigger companies in the industry have grown in this fashion. And it's been good to us as well. So the third approach to branching out is acquisition. So this one may feel a little bit out of reach for some. I mean, if you're a small company and you think, gosh, we're a $2 million company or $1 million company, what we have no business trying to go out and acquire another company. And that may be true. I think there was many years that as we were growing, that acquisition was not something that made sense for us. We were too small. We didn't have enough cash. We didn't have the operational infrastructure and the talent to maybe be able to execute on an acquisition and running that well and merging the two together, et cetera. And so it probably wasn't until we were $7 million in revenue that we started looking at acquisitions. I know other companies that have done that at a much lower mark. I mean, at $2-3 million, they've been hunting for acquisitions. I think part of that just depends on your experience and the caliber of people you have on your team that you could go out and pick up something and successfully acquire it and keep it going, keep profitability and customers and all that stuff. And you got to obviously have good resources for cash. We were just honestly a bit cash poor for a while and didn't have a lot. And so, I mean, we had a little bit, we had a few months reserve in our account and we had a line of credit with the bank, and that was really about it. But what this does for you, if it's the right kind of company, is it gives you immediate business right away, often a significant amount. So our first acquisition was a $3.5 million company that was probably 2.5 hours away from us. And there were 4 or 5 managers and a salesperson and a couple of office staff that worked there, along with cleaning team members and some site supervisors. And that all of that came with the acquisition of the company. And so it gave us not only revenue and profitability, but it also gave us operational infrastructure in that area. Now, it was a lot of work. I mean, our team spent a lot of time there, on the road, staying in hotels, Airbnbs, whatever, trying to make sure that thing went smoothly and the transition went well and that we forged relationships with the customers, and we kept all that intact. And by and large, that did go really well. And we're on the hunt for another one, and we hope to do that again sometime in the next year or two in the markets that we're looking to grow into. So this is a great one. I mean, if I had to pick one, like if cash was not something I worried about, acquisition would be the one that I would do, because it paves the road to growth just in a much simpler manner operationally for you. But it is also riskier. It requires a larger cash outlay. It ropes you into debt typically. Usually that's financed in part through a bank and in part owner financing, just depending on how the deal is structured. And so there is risk with that. But in taking that greater risk, there's also some greater possible upsides that make the growth faster and a bit more seamless and a bit more profitable. Whereas the other methods, you may have to grind it out for a bit to get that profitability that you're looking for. So all three of these methods are good. I think they're, depending on the size of your organization and where you're located geographically, what may determine which of these methods you may try. But I think each one has its place in the industry as companies are looking to grow geographically, and I think you should be thinking through which one serves you best as you try to grow geographically. So I hope this is helpful. If I can ever answer any questions about this is something we talk about a lot at Elite BSC. We've done some content on this particular topic. And so if we can help in any way or do some coaching, consulting for you, we're happy to do that. Feel free to reach out to us. My email address is jordan@elitebsc.com. So hope it's helpful, and we will see you on the next episode. If you found the information in this podcast helpful, please like and subscribe on whatever podcast platform that you're using. If you would like more resources or help to grow your cleaning company, head over to elitebsc.com. We have loads of articles, videos, free tools, coaching options, and a lot more. If your company is greater than $500K in revenue and you want to take your learning experience to the next level, check out our mastermind group. You can learn more about that at elitebsc.com/mastermind.